Hello there, my name is Mick22 and welcome to the series where I teach you everything you need to know about aircraft. Before we start, I wanted to remind you to leave all your questions in the comments below. Also, please note that the topics in this video are very compressed and only serve as an introduction into the different fields of aviation. More in-depth videos will follow later. The first type of glorified paper towel rolls are airliners. These are the aircraft you might be the most familiar with due to their tendency to carry people from one place to another. These come in a lot of different sizes, from passenger capacities of almost 50 to all the way to over 800. They are also varying greatly in their range, with the biggest aircraft typically being able to fly much further than the small ones. Also, just note that range isn't the only criteria for an airliner, but we will talk about this in a later video. Airliners are primarily produced by two companies, Boeing and Airbus, but I'm sure you have heard of them because they have some recent controversy going around them. These two companies not only make airliners though, because another very important part of aviation is the transportation of cargo around the globe. Funnily enough, most cargo aircraft are just converted airliners that are too old to be a passenger plane, but that are still good enough for cargo. Now, you might have noticed that I said most planes, but there are lots of purpose-built cargo airplanes too. Cargo planes, just like airliners, come in a lot of different sizes and flavors, ranging from small converted Cessnas all the way to the biggest aircraft flying today. What? It was destroyed in Kiev? Well, that's unfortunate, I guess. A flying boat is exactly what you think it is. It's an aircraft with a hull shaped in a way to make it float. These mostly fill the same roles as other aircraft, but with a big enough difference that I thought I would give them their own category. Their height occurred in World War II, where these were widely used to hunt for submarines and act as scout aircraft. Surprisingly, these often had a built-in landing gear, so against what you might believe, these were able to land on a conventional airport, with only the biggest ones not featuring any landing gear. But these could be fitted with additional wheels after landing to be able to bring them ashore for servicing the hull. Today there are only a few types of these, with them mostly being firefighting aircraft. Also, these are technically not true flying boats, but rather amphibious aircraft with wheels or a landing gear. No, these are not only extremely expensive private jets I'm talking about, but rather these are these little Cessnas and small light planes that you see flying past from time to time. That's because these are much more affordable to get and to maintain, so more people can afford them and fly with them. But generally, a private aircraft can be anything as long as it's owned by a person. And yes, by that definition, it means that a MiG-15 is a private aircraft. A helicopter is something commonly called a rotary wing aircraft or rotorcraft. These have some key advantages over fixed wing aircraft, like a normal aircraft, like the ability to perform something called VTOL, which just means vertical takeoff or landing, and also remain in a hover, meaning they can reduce their horizontal speed to 0. So they are basically just sitting in the air, and all of that without falling out of the sky. Helicopters are commonly used by law enforcement, search and rescue, and sometimes by the military. Just like fixed-wing aircraft, they come in a lot of different sizes and flavors, with the biggest one being the Mi-26, which is large enough to be used as a passenger transport for an airline. Military aircraft can be any of the previous mentioned types, though most of the time they are heavily modified and used in different scenarios. Like that one crop duster that serves the American Special Forces. These are not limited to be civilian versions though, and often are purpose-built for the military, or there are no civilian planes that can fulfill their requirements. That's how we got fighter aircraft, which they would be almost useless for civilians, unless you want to make the life of your competition a bit harder. Or maybe you want to troll your neighbor by dropping 6 metric tons of angry metal tubes in his yard while evading his anti-aircraft fire and radar detection. And because a lot of money is spent in war, we got a lot of weird prototypes, which leads us straight to the next point. Experimental aircraft. These include some of the most questionable and genius designs that may be used later, like jet engines back when they still were new, or stealth technology, or just a different style of wing. In summary, these bring us a lot of very cool stuff, but a lot of them are abandoned without ever being used later. But the data lives on much later and is used in later aircraft. Here are some aircraft that do fit in the previous categories, but I think that they make a big enough impact in the development of aircraft that they are worth finding out about by yourself. The first one is the X-15, the fastest aircraft in the world. The second one is the AD-1, a test for a pretty unique wing design. The third one is the AN-225, which was the largest aircraft in the world. The fourth one is the Su-47. It's another test for wing design, but different. The fifth one is the Me-262, the first jet fighter. And the sixth one is the F-117. Please don't yell at me because I didn't put the right flyer in there, because yes, theoretically it made the biggest impact on aviation because it created aviation. But still, all of these can lead you down a pretty deep rabbit hole sometimes, where you can find out even more interesting things. So do it. Give it a look and maybe you'll learn something while doing that. Or you can binge watch a few YouTube videos on these topics. For that, I'll leave some links in the description for you to check out. And with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching. Please consider leaving a like or even subscribe if you feel like it. And we'll see us in the next one. Bye bye.